I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting for the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, Monday, July 6, 2015. If all stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Patty, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gerald Cohen. Here. Councilmember Pamela Gunn. Here. Councilmember Mitchell Crott.
Here.
Councilmember John Petrowski.
Here.
Councilmember Wanda Greer.
Here.
Vice Mayor Leslie Montero.
Here.
Mayor Rob Baldwin.
Here.
And City Manager Nancy Gonzalez.
Here.
And City Attorney Paul Marino.
Here. Here. Thank you. Okay, do I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Do I have a motion for approval of the June 1st City Council meeting minutes?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Citizens' comments. Each speaker will be recognized once and limited to a 3-minute presentation on any subject that is not on the agenda. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak? All right, seeing no one. Oh, I'm sorry. If you could state your name and address, please.
How you doing? Randy Levitz, 103 13th Street. 3 minutes. I want to start off with this, talk about this soliciting or no soliciting. We still have that ordinance. Excuse me. We have pressure washing, been there, dumped that. Window replacement services. There's Mike Krauthammer's lawn maintenance. This looks official, like from the Department of Energy. They can make sure you're not losing any heat or cool out your windows. We have the 20 restaurants on the menu. Call us and we'll deliver food. Foodies, Country Cafe, and Bodyssey, my favorite. Okay, but I think that this, it's my impression that this is like I call it paper ordinance. Nothing really happens. I turn these in a number of times, and probably somebody calls and says, don't do that. But I think personally that unless the hammer gets wielded and somebody gets fined or something happens, they just keep, they just keep doing it. Okay, so I don't know what happens other than I give you these, somebody's going to call tomorrow and say, before tomorrow is going to say, you're dropping these, you can't be doing it. Okay, and then next week there's going to be another barrage. So until the word gets out that you're fining people or doing something to enforce this, it's a garbage ordinance. It's not doing anything. I don't want strangers in my yard. And that's the first item. There's issues, as far as I'm concerned, with the beach. There's a lot of riff and a lot of raff up there. The parking, I live right over here, so we got the access right between 12th and 13th. A lot of cars with no stickers on them. Okay, it doesn't appear as if the sheriff is up there at the prime times, like 15 minutes or 20 minutes before sunset. All the people pile in. Okay, and even throughout the day, there's cars in there a lot of times. I don't think there's enough checking. There's lately in the past 6-8 months, loads of litter on the beach and up by the benches. Every night we go up there, we walk up, we want to go to see sunset. I'm picking up empty water bottles or beer cans or whatever. People come and they do what they do and they just drop the crap there. We try to, the local people try to keep our area neat, so we end up picking up, but we don't drop stuff. It's not us that's doing it. It's the people that are filtering in. Just about everything that's written on that board out there, don't do this isn't allowed, that. None of that stuff is being honored or paid attention to. We're in the water and there's kayaks being launched off the beach and paddle boards and everything else. I guess people are coming and parking over here, to leave their car for the day or whatever, but they come into the lot and they take their surfboards, their paddle boards, and then 2 or 3 guys, they carry them down onto the beach, and then one of them runs the truck or the car back over here. So that's something that should be looked at. That gate is broken. I don't know if you know that it's
Right, and they're working on
that
Bel Air Shores.
Okay. the ball playing. My wife got involved with a football yesterday. We were in the water. I said, it used to be a peaceful beach. You go in the water, and they're playing football out in the water. It's awesome. Well, they're not supposed to be doing that. Okay, it's not. It's in Seaside Heights, and Jersey Shore. But that's what it's turning into. There's beer on the beach. There's people walking dogs on the beach. There's one guy that comes regularly now on his bicycle. He parks the bicycle up by the benches, and then he walk. You can tell he's half in the bag. He's hopped up on it. He walks down about 6 houses south, and he goes up into that high Seos, and he lays up in there for an hour in the middle of. And he's not. Somebody going to the beach. You lay out on the beach. I mean, this guy's burying himself in the bushes. I don't know. Lord only knows what's going on back there, but that's what we'll think. The last thing about the water, I think there's a lot of people coming fishing now. Okay, and fishing's great. I think I should get into more fishing. But fishing, and I don't know if you can do anything with it, but fishing right where the people are swimming is a problem. Because you've got people with big hooks, my wife and kids and I are out and things, and people are casting right alongside us. So maybe you suggest if they say that, 100 yards away from the access or something. If they want to fish, God bless them, let them fish all they want. But not, I don't want people casting and fishing over our heads and pulling those hooks in past us. I think it's a bit of a danger. And the last thing, this crosswalk, this access way on 13th, right by 13th, over there, it's a great idea, but I don't know that are they going to put lights on that like they have on some of these other ones? Okay, that's really needed. The cars, they don't stop a lot of times. The police aren't there to see it, but they don't stop. We were coming back last night from swimming, my son and I, and the cars, if they see that you're in the crosswalk, they speed and they zig around you. Okay, it's dangerous. My father is legally blind now, lives on the corner over there, and he wants to go across the beach, but he can't see the oncoming cars, so it goes real slow. But he's dodging. I mean, he's trying to listen to what's going on. He's half deaf. But it's even for us, it's a problem. Somebody's going to get whacked over there. And the speed on those cars, trying to get out of 13th and make a left to come this way, I don't have a laser gun, but they got to be doing 40 or so because it's almost impossible to get out. And unfortunately, the positioning of that barrier it's a terrible spot for when you want to. They should have put that where the old crosswalk was on the north side of the intersection. By having it on the south side, when I come out 13th, I got about 30 feet that I have to gun it out into this little strip and just about run into the tree. And a couple cars went up on that island before they had the trees there. Okay, you can't get out because the cars heading northbound are speeding north, and there's heck of a traffic coming south, and there's like nowhere to go. You just got to kind of dart out into that middle island and then try to get out. So I know that's not that's a county road or whatever. You can't do anything about it, but maybe make a phone call or something. But they're coming faster than 30, 35 miles an hour. I mean, it makes it near impossible to get out when the traffic's heavy. So. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure, summarize all that.
Yes.
Anyone else from the citizen comments? Yes. If you could state your name and address, please.
Kurt DeVries, 1851 Gulf. Just to kind of piggyback, we had the whole discussion about the trees in the meetings last time we were here. I sent Nancy an email today, I think my wife did as well. There's been, you mentioned some accidents down by you. We've had 4 accidents. My shift is almost coming from where I hate those trees to it's a real danger. We had, I don't know, you guys probably heard about the accident that happened over the 4th of July with a stolen vehicle. I really would think that guy may have not hit that car so hard. He was going about 80 miles an hour. Had the median not been there, he probably could have got around the car. We've also had, 2 weeks ago, I had a drunk driver on the other side of the road take out 4 of the braces for the trees. So, and then before that, there was another lady New Year's Eve last year, rode right up on her, older lady. Now, if the trees were there then, she may die. So, and they're in bad places, they're in bad locations, we've already gone over that. Even like where you have to turn, where we have to turn, if you're going northbound, to get into that beach access, you really have to whip around those trees to get in, there's really not much room. So, that's just, me going on and on, I'll keep coming and talking about it, but yeah, just want to let you guys know.
Okay, all right, thank you, Terry. Anyone else from the public like to speak? Seeing no one, will close the citizens' comments portion. Item number 4, consideration of ordinance 15-02. Paul?
It's an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, amending City Code Section 10-77, parenthetical 3, pertaining to temporary roof repair, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion for ordinance 15-02?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak to this? Any discussion on council? Okay. Patty, can you call the roll?
Councilmember Cohen. Aye. Councilmember Gunn. Aye. Councilmember Crop.
Aye.
Councilmember Chakowski.
Aye.
Councilmember Spear.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Matero.
Aye.
Mayor Baldwin.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Item number 5, consideration of ordinance 15-03. Paul?
Yes, sir, this is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, amending the date for the annual municipal election to coincide with the state or national elections, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. This was designed to be perpetual in nature, so we don't have to do it the same way.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask you to speak up a little bit? I'm hard of hearing and your system is terrible, sound system.
Okay, do I have a motion for ordinance 15-03?
So moved.
Second.
Anyone from the public like to speak? Any discussion on council? All right, Patty, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gunn. Aye. Councilmember Crop.
Aye.
Councilmember Chakowski.
Aye.
Councilmember Spear.
Aye.
Councilmember Cohen. Aye. Vice Mayor Matero. Aye. Mayor Baldwin.
Aye. Ordinance 15-03 passes 7-0.
We'll try to speak louder.
All right, item number 6, consideration of ordinance 15-04.
Yes, sir, it's an ordinance, of the City Council, City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, amending Section 86-66 of the City Code pertaining to removal of signs, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
Okay, do I have a motion for ordinance 15-04?
Second.
Any discussion from the public? Any discussion on council? Patty, call the roll.
Councilmember Crop.
Aye.
Councilmember Chakowski.
Aye.
Councilmember Spear.
Aye.
Councilmember Cohen. Aye. Councilmember Gunn. Aye. Vice Mayor Matero.
Aye.
Mayor Baldwin.
Aye. Ordinance 15-04 passes 7-0. Item number 7, proclamation proclaiming July 26, 2015 as Americans with Disabilities Act Awareness Day. Do I have a motion for approval of the proclamation?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Passes 7-0. Item number 8, nomination and approval of voting delegate for the 89th Annual Florida League of Cities Conference held in Orlando. Patty?
Every year, the Florida League of Cities annual conference, whoever attends that would be our voting delegate. Usually, 2 people can attend if they would like. If anyone wants to volunteer to attend, and then they would be the delegate.
Do I have any?
I'll volunteer to attend.
Anyone else?
I would nominate Leslie to be our new delegate.
I would second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Leslie is in. 7-0. Okay, item number 9, consideration of resolution 2015-04. Paul?
This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, repealing resolutions 2013-06 and 2014-03, pertaining to the Gulf Boulevard Safety and Beautification Committee and the subcommittee to investigate the feasibility of an underground utility system for the city and establishing an effective date. And let me just say that this is being done this way for purely technical reasons, but y'all wanted to abolish the committee, which automatically abolishes everything that's subordinate to that committee. Now, if you'd like to recreate the undergrounding function, you can do that by separate committee resolution.
All right, thank you. Do you have a motion for approval of resolution 2015-04?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, or Patty, call the roll, please?
Councilmember Petrowski.
Aye.
Councilmember Spear.
Aye.
Councilmember Cohen. Councilmember Gunn. Councilmember Crock. Vice Mayor Notaro. Mayor Baldwin.
Aye. Resolution 2015-04 passes 7-0. Item number 10, consideration of resolution 2015-05. Paul?
Yes, sir. This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, encouraging the Florida Legislature to remove barriers to consumer-sited solar power, and expressing support for the Floridians for Solar Choice ballot initiative and the development of microgrid technology and providing for an effective date.
Okay, do I have a motion for resolution 2015-05?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes.
This is, I'm totally in favor of the microgrid and the citizen's choice. I have an objection to supporting this as a ballot petition to amend the Constitution. It's sort of a philosophical issue I have with amending our Constitution for something like this. You understand?
Since the Constitution makes third-party buying power for the third party unconstitutional, don't we have to be in the Constitution to get this order?
That you're saying this is included in the Constitution today?
Well, what is included in the Constitution is that buying power from the third party is not allowed.
It's
It's
unconstitutional.
unconstitutional. In order to be able to do that, we need to amend the Constitution to support that.
Then why are we asking the legislature to remove the legal barriers?
Susan Glickman is here. If we could, I bet she has all the answers to our questions. If you don't mind.
I think that's a vehicle that goes through the Constitution.
Pardon?
I think it's got vehicles that go through the legislature to get it there, but I'll let the ladies.
I'm Susan Glickman. I am a Bel Air Beach resident. I've lived here since 1993, so it is an honor to be here, and I appreciate all of your service. I know how much work it is to do what you do. So I'm the Florida Director of Southern Alliance for Clean Energy. So let me just kind of correct where we're at. We're going to the Constitution because the Florida legislature, we are one of only 4 states in the nation that have express prohibition against the third-party sale of electricity. So you can only buy your electricity through your government-sponsored monopoly utility. The reason that we're going to the Constitution is because the Florida legislature won't address that question because of the influence of the utilities, the enormous amount of money, which I could detail at excruciating, painful length about how much money they give. So we are one of only 4 states that does not allow this. But that's the reason, just like a lot of other amendments. Years ago, I used to do tobacco policy, and we couldn't get the legislature to pass workplace smoking. If it was up to the legislature and the influence of the tobacco industry, we'd still be smoking in restaurants. We actually had to go to the ballot, which we did in 2000. So that's why we're going to the Constitution, going to amend the Constitution.
Are these express prohibitions in the Constitution or in the statute?
It's in Florida statute.
Okay.
That's right. So you would, most states, as I said, we're only one of 4 states, allows this. Our legislature won't do it because of the influence of the utility companies.
Any other questions?
I will say, just so you know, we can lease. You can lease solar equipment. There is a tax on that. called a tangible personal property tax on the leased equipment, which makes it uncompetitive. I think the other thing, I mean, obviously you're here representing the citizens of Bel Air Beach, and the cost of solar has come down so exponentially. The cheapest thing we can do to meet our energy needs is energy efficiency. The group that I work with, we get involved at the Public Service Commission with the regulators as interveners, and in 2004, 2009, and 2014, they gutted energy efficiency programs in the state of Florida, which is the thing that really helps you avoid building new power plants. Building new power plants is what make your bill go up. Energy efficiency is the cheap stuff. Solar's coming down exponentially. You probably pay 11 cents out of the wall. Florida Power and Light, the biggest utility in the state, just signed a big power purchase agreement with Tennessee Valley Authority at 6 cents a kilowatt hour. So the cost is coming down, and they're doing it everywhere else. In fact, Florida Power and Light self-competes in 26 states. They just competed in the city of Tallahassee. The city of Tallahassee just did an RFP for a 10 megawatt system. Florida Power and Light, which doesn't allow competition in the state, they competed in the city of Tallahassee. So we just have an old industry versus a new industry. It is very similar to what governments all over, all levels of government had to deal with telephones and telecommunications, and that's just where we're at on energy. The costs have just come down. Austin Energy is buying a system. They just entertained some prices for under 4 cents a kilowatt hour. So it's just gone down and down, but government-sponsored utilities have a monopoly. The Florida Public Service Commission, within a 2-week period of gutting energy efficiency for Duke Energy, cited another 1,640 megawatt gas plant. I would arguably that we may or may not need if they did proper utility planning. So I will just tell you, as someone who's been doing this type of public interest work for a long time, this ballot measure, because it's something the utilities can't own and control, is having an enormous impact. I was talking with a long-term staffer at Senator Nelson's office about the initiative, and she said, oh, that's why they're announcing all these solar projects. So the utilities have a business model. They get a guaranteed rate of return on their capital expenditure. We send $50 to $60 billion a year out of state for fuel from somewhere else that hurts your citizens and people in the state of Florida. And we have to turn that around. We have to join kind of the 21st century in other states. As I said, we're only one of 4 states that expressly prohibits this, and there's only to do with one thing, and that's the influence of utility money. So by coming in and having citizens stand up, we're at the Florida Supreme Court, which is in the process of, they go in and look at the language for the single subject rule. So it is having an impact. I go up to the legislature for better force during the session, and the impact of the success of the ballot measure and the popularity of it help to protect our net metering rule in the state this cycle. So I don't know if you have any other questions. There's some complexities to it, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Oh, the Florida, Nancy can mention this too. The Florida League of Cities put out a notice to all of us that said that the downside of this is obviously the loss of the various franchise and taxes that we get on a percentage. I think it's 10%. 10% of all these utility bills. We really do need the legislature to match that somehow, or to come up with a plan that doesn't cost us a lot of money. Just wanted to get that number. What was that number you had that was in the budget for that particular utility that we're getting 10% of the total gross revenue? And
well, is that the franchise fee that the
it's a
utility
tax.
pays?
The electricity utility tax that we have budgeted for 2015 and 2016 is $176,725, which is slightly down from last year's budget.
I just want to mention that for record for y'all, but this solar is going to come. It's just up to the legislature. It's up to the legislature to find the ways and means to balance that resource, that non-fossil fuel resource for various communities, including microgridding and everything else, with the loss of revenue that we have to experience in going toward that type of program. And I want to call the council's attention that this resolution, when we pass it, if we pass it, but is to be given to the county legislative delegation and to the governor's office.
I just wanted to speak to this idea, because there's not necessarily a loss of revenue per se. We spent a lot of time in front of the revenue estimating conference that does a financial impact statement that actually goes on the ballot, and basically their ultimate finding, they put a 75-word summary on the ballot, is that the amount of decreased sales or local government revenues is really cannot be determined, because number one, you don't know how much sort of penetration solar is going to get to. But I think the main point is that while there might be some fractional revenue, it's not like the money's going somewhere else. The money is a total pass-through. The utilities aren't giving you any money, they aren't giving the city of Bel Air Beach any money. They tax your citizens and then they pass it through. So I think that while I would not be presumptuous enough to tell you how to manage a budget, the city of Tallahassee is a great example. For years they balanced their budget because so many of their the buildings are state buildings and they don't pay taxes, right? So they have higher utility rates. I mean, you may need to figure out ultimately, one thing I thought that might be interesting to think through would be to look at this property assessed clean energy, which is a program that you're allowed to do, local governments are allowed to do by the state. And what you could do is you could literally run a solar hot water heater, solar loan program at sort of lower interest rates. That's sort of the idea of PACE. And you could make money off that as time goes forward. So my friends in the city of Tallahassee government, I say, look, there's no pointing fingers here, but you're not going to do it overnight, and it's the same thing with Bel Air Beach. Whether it's this initiative or something else, these dollars are going to shift. They're not going away, right? It's just a dollar-for-dollar pass-through from the utility back to you, but it comes out of the customer's pocket. So if that was to be reduced, the only thing that would happen would be people in the city of Bel Air Beach would actually just pay less money. But if you can now in the county, they could do permitting, right? Permitting for the solar, you don't do the permitting here, the county does that. But if you did a solar loan, let's say a solar hot water heater loan program, there is a lot of money available in capital to come in and do that. You could do that through a PACE program. There's a nonprofit entity called Solar Energy Loan Fund, that's what they do. They raise money from banks and pension funds and from nuns and a lot of faith institutions. So there are other ways to look at that, but I guess my point is that's kind of happening in the world, just like, your phone changed, right? And we don't have rotary phones, but, or the utilities will still do a charge, that's still left to be seen.
They get money from the nuns?
They do, they get money from Benedictine nuns, and they put it, yeah, they do. They have they actually have pension funds, and what I think they might have done a term for it. But it's a very interesting program. They come in like a loan. They don't loan people money unless the savings is greater than the cost of the investment over time and in 3 years. The Anheuser-Busch distributor right here in our county, Great Bay distributor, just put up solar. Now he has the wherewithal to write his own check. It was a megawatt and a half. 5,000 panels, $2.6 million. The payback is 6.2 years. He will save $6 million over the life of those 25-year life of the solar panels. And really, I'm here because the cost of solar has come down so exponentially. But because the big monopoly utilities get a guaranteed rate of return on their capital expenditure, they don't know what to do with this distributed generation yet. So they're doing what they can to block it, and they give oodles of political contributions at the state level into the political parties, both political parties, I might add. And they blocked it, so this is citizens coming together just like I did, a decade ago around tobacco when they wouldn't stop smoking in restaurants. So it's a very similar dynamic, and it's sort of weighing in. But ultimately, people in Bel Air Beach and across the state of Florida will not only save money, but we will keep energy dollars, that $50 to $60 billion that leaves the state every year, to burn gas from other places, uranium, coal, because we don't have anything here. So that's ultimately what this is about. It's a big economic development opportunity, but it's a dollar-for-dollar pass-through, so you're not losing any money. And I assure you the utilities, the last thing I'll say is, it's very similar to snowbirds that aren't here during the winter, right? They use less energy. It's very similar to me going in and buying a new air conditioner and a new refrigerator, and somebody talked about the windows earlier, right? Making your windows more efficient. You're simply using less energy during the day. People aren't coming off the grid. They're still going to pay a retail rate at night. They're still going to pay that service fee. Perhaps ultimately, as you said, we will have microgrids, we will have fuel cells, battery. My prediction is you'll be driving your $32,000 Tesla with your solar panel. You're going to run your refrigerator and your air conditioner at night. We'll be electrifying transportation. That's a little down the road. But these are things you will have to think about one way or another as the world evolves.
Right.
Thankfully.
Step in the right direction.
Yeah, we like to think so. But anyway, I do really appreciate all your service. My brother was a county commissioner, legislator, and I've been involved in politics my whole life, and I know how much work it is and sacrifice for all of you.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Any other discussions? I have a motion and a second, I think. That was a long time ago. Patty, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Spear,
Aye.
Councilmember Cohen. Aye. Councilmember Gunn. Aye. Councilmember Crop,
Aye.
Councilmember Petrowski,
All right.
Vice Mayor Otero. No. Mayor Baldwin.
Aye. Motion passes 6-1. Okay, number 11, mayor and council comments. John? No further comments tonight. Carol?
No, I just hope it was a safe Fourth for everybody.
Sam? Ron?
I went to the Big C meeting, last week before last, and there was really nothing of note to bring back to the council, so I'll have no report from that. But I want to thank staff for the nice budget package we have to look at for the next meeting, for next week, the 13th. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ron. Mitch?
I'm good, thanks.
Melissa?
A couple weeks ago, I was able to attend the Fire Ops 101 class, experience, whatever. It was amazing. You get a total appreciation for what our firefighters and our EMT personnel do. It was, they have it every year. I encourage everybody to go. You got to wear all the fire gear, put on the air pack on your back that weighs 60 pounds or something like that. Go into smoking buildings, break into a car that had been in an accident and take the side off of it. I highly recommend it for anyone. And you really do get a serious appreciation for what those guys and girls go through.
You got like an A+ in that class.
I lived through it.
Yeah. Thank you. I did want to bring up one thing. Now that we've disbanded the beautification committee, of which the undergrounding was a subcommittee of, we still have the sort of the referendum that was hanging out there in 2012, where the citizens wanted to figure out a way to finance undergrounding and to try to move that forward in the city. Now, the beautification committee did incorporate some of those funds for undergrounding along Gulf Boulevard, which is the only place it could be used. But I think there's still more work we need to do to sort of answer that question. And I know there's been some residents that have expressed interest in wanting to underground, in their areas. One of the things that came up, I've had several meetings with some interested citizens, and one of the creative ways I think to deal with this was to create a tax zone. Okay, and this would be, I guess it's similar to if you want to put street lights in a community, then you can actually, I don't even know if there's a referendum required for that. I'm not really sure what the steps would be, but it would be a way to fund that infrastructure improvement through taxes or through some other vehicle. And so I'm bringing it up because I think we still have, I haven't given up on ways to underground and ways to finance it. And so I talked to Paul a little bit about this, about what the steps would be to create a tax zone or what the options would be under that. So I just wanted to bring it up, and maybe, Paul, you can speak a little bit about it, because I know you, but I'd like to sort of get some vehicle to keep this going. So I wanted to engage the interest on council to do that, whether it's creating another committee or just taking some actions on some individual steps. But this was one that came up. So, Paul, can you add anything out there?
Well, there's really one major issue that you have to decide. Do you want to approach this underground on a citywide basis? That's the first major issue. If you want to approach it on a citywide basis as opposed to a sectional basis, I don't know how to describe streets, then you're going to float a major bond, 30 years, there's a whole mechanism for how you do that in place under the law. And then go ahead and proceed to do it on a street basis. And the assessment is automatically placed on the tax bill, and it runs in perpetuity with the land. So it'll go out 30 years, but it will be on that tax bill as a special district type assessment. As distinguished from doing it on a development basis. In the county, for example, a structured development can do a special tax just for that development to either put in street lights or do something special that those folks might want, and do it on that basis and amortize it over 20 or 30 years. And the county will advance the cost and put it up, and they'll take care of the bonding. So I would suggest to you that if you want to do this, do it. Do the whole thing. We can't borrow money. We're tapped out on borrowing money, but we probably can float a bond issue. And with interest rates down as low as they are right now, this might be a good time to do it before they start climbing up for a major project like that. But it's not going to be cheap. It's going to be aggressive. But cities are doing it. Even cities the size of Delaware.
Right. I know Madeira is, I think, looking at some vehicle they're going to use, but they are looking at that. So, whether we do the whole city or do it incrementally, I think that's one of the decisions to make. I'm not proposing we make that here, but I really just wanted to see if there was interest, and maybe we set this up for a topic the next time. Paul, you could gather a little bit more information on exactly how you would do that and what the steps would be.
Didn't we have a non-binding referendum a couple of years ago? And what was the result of that? I forget.
Here it is. It was, it passed. It was a citywide referendum policy. So it did pass, I don't know the exact percentages, 55, 45, or 60, 40. So that, that was the referendum that asked us to explore alternate ways to take the funding. We've sort of done that through Gulf Boulevard. I think that's, we did everything we could to try to use some of that money for underground and do what we could do. But now, we have parts of the city, we have the whole city, and so that's, anyway.
I think we should continue to explore it. Obviously, I've got some information on grants that may be available, some contacts with the state that I sort of fell off my radar. So I will get back into those and I'm willing to spend some time looking into grants, using other people's money.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that we probably handle it at the council level maybe more efficiently if we continue to kind of have it as an ongoing agenda item with a different topic, if you will, kind of coming in.
Right, okay.
And just kind of working it that way. Does
that sound like a
Are
program?
you all interested in forming another committee, or we just want to have the council do it?
Well, maybe at first we could just sort of explore some of these items, and if they really take hold, then we can see how. But then if there's a consensus, then we'll set up an agenda item at the next meeting, and maybe Paul, you can take that, the tax zone as a discussion point, and do a little bit of research as to how it would happen, the mechanism that would happen.
We know the topic's not going to go away, so we might as well go ahead and get active on it.
Right. Okay. All right.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr.
Jim Carr, again, 22nd Street.
You brought up the possibility of doing the entire city undergrounding, or if not, incrementally. We've been working on, a number of us worked on the last 10, 12 years, and we've come up with an incremental way of doing it. We're trying to establish a tax zone of approximately 130 homes, starting off 22nd Street and Bayshore. And we've worked closely with engineering and so forth, people who are involved in it today, with Madera and St. Pete Beach. And so we have some very valid figures that we can utilize. We also have the ability to have comps from Belle Isle to know what it entails and what it gives back. We're in a position right now where we can underground, and that, that includes undergrounding to the house itself, if it's aerial now. And we're talking about a cost of approximately $16 a month per resident, which will stay with the property in perpetuity and so forth. If we don't go, if we don't want to go the entire city, we would like the opportunity to do that on an incremental basis for a tax zone. We need help. And we've taken, we've had some very good bound legal representation before, many years ago, and we've gone that route, establish a tax zone as opposed to doing it individually. But I would appreciate any direction you can give us now as far as going to a tax zone. Thank you.
So Nancy, can we add that?
Yes.
All right, that's all I had. Paul?
Excuse me. With council's permission, I have to miss next meeting. I'll be out of state. I couldn't work around and I tried. But I have to be up in Georgia, also in Maryland, Washington, D.C. So I can still work on this stuff and get back. And if you want, I can do a telephone meeting. I'm game with that. But if that's okay, unless you want.
Well, why don't you go ahead and do some research?
I will.
Send it forward. We can still have a discussion about that.
I'll take it. The second issue is John Elias, the attorney, who happens to be Bel Air Shores attorney as well, is a special master for code enforcement for us. And John's retiring from Seminole, and also I understand Bel Air Shore, and pretty much packing it in as a government lawyer, contract government lawyer. And so what, I'll talk to Susan Moore, I'll talk to the city manager about that. Susan would like to shift back to the code enforcement responsibility. She can't do both Board of Adjustment and code enforcement. But her preference now is to go back to code enforcement. And if you need to, we can find somebody for backup on the Board of Adjustment. I can't do it because of the conflict initiative. Susan can't do both of them because of the dual office holding issue. So I was just thinking, she would like to go back to code enforcement. And would anybody have an objection to that?
I mean, we need to come in the form of some
Okay. We'll work it out. Whatever agreement is now with the city, what should be changing now is to back up to the Board of Adjustment, go back where she was originally at the code enforcement.
And if we can outline again the price for because we may have some work.
Well, I'm hoping you get that Board of Adjustment together. We had a, I can probably discuss this pretty much here. We had a pre-trial hearing in connection with the charges on the property owner that had that cheeky stipulation at the pre-trial was that she would apply for a variance with the Board of Adjustment, and she's supposed to send in her application. I talked to her lawyer Friday, and he says she's definitely going to do that. So I'm going to ask you, you're curious as to what it is. Yeah, apparently some technical issues she's going to fill out on the application. So that will be forthcoming. So Patty, you might really start thinking about getting this board lined up, because I think it's coming. And we have a status conference on August 27th or 23rd, somewhere in there, with the court in connection with this. And hopefully, they want to see what happens with their application for a variance. Certainly would like to get that board together, or at least a majority of them, so we can get this resolved by the time we have to go back for status conference. Because we can resolve it this way, we don't get caught up in my having to do another cause of action civilly in order to enforce the zoning regulations. Because the judge told us the only thing that she can do is fine someone, and she can't order them to remove it. So, have perpetual fining if she finds her guilty. I just thought I would mention that for the record. Don't need a shade meeting for this. It's not that kind of situation. Just to bring up to date. Yes, sir.
Nancy?
Joe, just a reminder that there is a budget workshop week from today at 4 o'clock. You have your budgets in front of you. If you have any questions prior to that meeting, please call me or call Melanie, or come in and see either one of us. We're always available to you.
All right, thank you. Have a motion to adjourn. All right, we are adjourned.